Hello friends, and welcome to today's video. I am super excited about this one because as someone who mainly reads all dark romance, I dove headfirst into Haunting Adeline, and while I absolutely devoured it and loved it, I wanted to give what feels like a beginner's guide to starting dark romance for those of us who are kind of looking to get into the genre but don't fully know where to start. So I want to give a list of some beginners recommendations from like the lightest dark romance books that I've read to some of the absolute darkest, most unhinged favorite books. First, we have Once You're Mine by Morgan Bridges. So this is a stalker romance, but despite the fact that it is a stalker romance, it is pretty light. He is a lawyer. She is the daughter of a senator. Her dad ends up being unalived, and she is trying to figure out what exactly happened. He was the prosecuting lawyer on the case, and so he ends up helping her figure out what happened, and he's like trying to figure it all out with her without giving too much away. This book was so good. He is super possessive. He will do anything to make her his. And again, it is pretty light. There is some really good spice involved in here. So despite it being a dark stalker romance, would definitely recommend this as a beginner's book. Next up, we have the Hollow Boy series by Monty J. I unfortunately don't own the physical copy of these books yet, but my God, I loved this series so much. So it is 4 books in total. Each book follows a different couple, and it starts out 4 men who are seeking revenge after one of them loses his sister. These men give off such mean energy, but they are so flirtatious. I think the second book in the series is actually my favorite out of all of them. Rook and Sage just like stole my heart. I loved this series so much. They were so possessive. They were not afraid to do anything to protect their women. This gives a lot of possessive energy, a lot of obsessive energy. It is a much bigger step toward the darker world. There is definitely some unhinged things that happen in this book, but in my opinion, nothing that was too crazy that felt too triggering to me. Loved this series so much. Highly, highly recommend. Next up, we have the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas. If you've watched my TikTok videos, you know how obsessed I am with this entire series. So it's 4 main books and 2 novellas. The novellas, they give a little bit of extra detail, but the main stuff is in these 4 books. These men are deliciously toxic, super unhinged. The first book, you will hate the character from this book, but he redeems himself. This series is everything, you guys. It is definitely a little bit of a step in the darker direction because these men, insane. There is a ton of unhinged spice, a ton of unhinged things that just happen. So essentially the premise, these 4 men every year around Halloween completely terrorize the town. The girl who is the FMC in the first book, they think she does something that gets them turned in. 3 of them end up in prison. And the first book is essentially them seeking revenge on her, while simultaneously one of them is falling in love with her. This series, you guys, I'm telling you, is everything. I'm talking the man in this 3rd book here, Kill Switch. This man is so unhinged, but the FMC in this book is blind. He literally shows her what colors feel like because she can't see them. Enough said. Next up, we have the Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline duet, also known as the cat and mouse duet. You guys know I had to include this one in here. Haunting Adeline was actually my first experience reading a dark romance book. I really just dove right into it. So this is a stalker romance. This book, you guys, is so unhinged. As always with any of these books, please make sure that you are checking your triggers before starting them because these books are going to hold a lot of triggers. So essentially, she confronts her stalker and she ends up in this web of this world with him where a ton of traumatic things happen. I am telling you, the emotional damage in these books is unheard of. I was bawling. These books are so incredibly good though, and the way that he helps her heal from her trauma, completely unmatched. So incredibly good, but so incredibly dark. So we are now crossing into the universe of extreme dark. Proceed with caution. Next up, we have the Legacy of God series, and actually the only one that I own the physical copy of right now is God of War. It starts off with God of Malice. When I tell you guys, this book starts off with such an unhinged, crazy scene. Prepare yourself. Again, read your triggers because this book shocked me in that first chapter. But dare I say, I was still hooked. These men are so morally gray. It's captivating though. Like I don't even have words for how good this series is. Each one I feel like gets better and better. God of Fury, favorite. These books are incredible, you guys. The storyline throughout each, it follows people from basically two separate worlds. One is called the Royal Elite and the other is the Mafia. The things that happen in these books and the way that these men will just go to war for their women, absolutely insane, unhinged, depraved, but the way that they love them, unmatched. Now we have the North Shore series by Lola King. I have read the first and second, which is Beautiful Fiend and then Heartless Beloved. This is now a step further than the last series, in which they are like two different worlds with characters between both. You guys, the first scene in these books makes the Legacy of God series look like child's play. It is so incredibly dark. Please, please, please read your triggers before reading this series. These men are absolutely insane. At first, it really feels like they have absolutely no redeeming qualities whatsoever, but they do ultimately redeem themselves. These books, the storyline is so captivating in both of them. I can't wait to read the rest of the books in this series. So incredibly unhinged. Like when I say morally black, not kidding. There's enemies to lovers. There's angst. I'm telling you, it's addicting. Lastly, we have the Lord series by Chantal Tessier. This starts with the ritual. This series is one of the darkest, one of the spiciest, and one of the most unhinged series I have ever read in my life. I'm telling you, the last book that she released, Madness, was so good, it put me into a 3-month-long book slump. So this series basically follows a bunch of different men that are part of this very elite college. And within this college, there's a secret society that once you are accepted, you are granted basically a woman who vows her entire being to you to do whatever you want with. These men are so incredibly possessive, so incredibly unhinged and depraved. The things that happen in these books, otherworldly. But when I tell you, I was so gripped from the beginning, the first chapter of this book, completely unhinged, morally black. There is enemies to lovers. Again, there's that angst. Completely possessive. They will do anything to make sure that their women are protected. The best series. So that concludes our guide today. If you have already read any of these books, please comment down below so that we can talk about them. If you have not read them and you plan to, keep me updated on your journey. I love sharing these books with people. I love talking about different books with people. So if you want to be friends, definitely comment down below. Subscribe to this channel if you want more of this type of content. You guys, I'm so excited talking about these books. I love them so much. and I can't wait to be sharing more with you as I keep reading. As always, please check your trigger warnings before reading any of these books, as everyone is different, but I hope you enjoy.